This is Ray Mooney's Wild World of Wet Shaving. Let's begin. Hey, welcome back. This is Ray Mooney. I'd like to welcome Honemeister, invaluable sub-member, and YouTube sensation, Greg Gallant, to the show. Greg, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Ray. Not sure about the YouTube sensation or Honemeister, but thank you for having me.
Well, in my opinion, you fit both bills, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Um, we'll just dive right in. My first question for you would be, how did you first get into wet shaving, and what did the landscape look like back then?
Um, I'm relatively new, actually, to wet
Oh,
shaving. I'm
okay.
old to shaving, but I got into wet shaving in 20, I think summer of late spring of 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I I now prior to that, I'd kind of gotten into the technique of shaving,
Sure.
but for different reasons. My idea was always I've been a daily shaver most of my life, and unless I had a beard.
Right.
And so my idea of shaving was how fast can I do a one pass shave and have it be a good shave that isn't, that is comfortable.
Sure.
And so that kind of optimization is what I did until sometime in 2021, probably winter, when I managed to buy a pack of disposable plastic razors that just sucked.
Sure. The
And
single
and
blade things like those.
no, 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 the cheap multiple blade razors,
Okay.
which I had already figured out that those razors are designed for pressure,
Right.
and if you use pressure, you're going to irritate your skin. So I'd already figured out some stuff about pressure, and by that time, I had already shaved with a straight razor. I taught myself to shave with a straight razor, actually twice in my life
Okay.
before 2021. But um, uh, and I had adopted things that I had learned with a straight razor. But in 2021, I just said, screw this. I'm going to go back to where I started, and I bought which started with was a DE, a double-edged razor,
Yeah.
and actually back in the dark ages when I started shaving, uh, I was in fact given an Old Spice cup,
Oh, wow.
yeah, with a brush that was stiff unless you put it in water,
Yep.
and a double-edged razor. And I used that one, it was one of those things handed to me by my father who said, figure it out.
Sure.
And so I just decided to go back to that. And somewhere along the line when researching, like what soap to buy and what razor to buy,
Yeah.
it actually didn't, here's how out of it didn't occur to me that I could actually buy a vintage razor in good enough condition to actually use.
No kidding.
So in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy a new razor. I mean, it doesn't really matter what it costs. I'll be using it for a long time, and
Yeah.
I can amortize that cost across, years and years. So it doesn't really matter. And anyway, in getting that, I ended up I also researched blades. And so I determined that the feather blade was the sharpest, so that meant a lot to me.
Okay.
Plus, it was Japanese, and I bought a feather razor and some tobacco, and I bought I also researched brushes and decided that it would be good to get a badger brush,
Yep.
and so I was off, and somewhere in all of that, I came across YouTube links of guys shaving
Right.
on YouTube.
Yep.
And I thought, how ludicrous is this? how dumb is this guy shaving? I mean, I can't imagine anybody shaving on YouTube.
Right.
Who would make a video of shaving themselves on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then, and it was then that I sort of glommed on that there's this wet shaving thing,
Yes.
and I have the curse of being curious, and so I thought, oh well, I mean, what's with this? So I started I started watching the videos and listening to people talk about various aspects of wet shaving,
Sure.
and I started to see the light on it. I was like, oh, this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so that's really what got me into it. And so that was the landscape, to answer your question, that was the
Sure.
landscape when I started. I will say that Sugar Daddy
Yeah.
was in his meticulous attention to his lathers absolutely floored me. I mean, I knew that, from somebody who was trying to optimize shaving time to 3 minutes, I knew
Wow.
that I could never well, I changed that, but I mean, back in the day that was my
Sure.
idea.
Were you
And to
using,
watch
sorry, were you using canned foam to shave in 3 minutes?
Yeah, for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, But
Okay.
but I also went out of laziness. I decided that soap is soap. And so there were years when I just used bar soap.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so it was, yeah, but the bar soap teaches you something. To shave well with bar soap, you have to keep it wet. It dries out quickly.
Right.
So instead of doing multiple full face passes, you do multiple passes just with areas. I was doing a single pass,
Yeah.
so I would, lather one side of the face and shave it, and lather the other side of the face and shave it, and so on.
Sure.
So, I mean, I picked up stuff just in my own tinkering with trying to optimize,
Of course.
but watching him do the opposite of that was fascinating for me.
Right.
And then listening to him talk about Austere August and the lather games really got my curiosity up, and that is eventually what took me to Reddit and our wet shaving. I did hit Wicked Edge. And,
As we all do first. Yes.
well, I never I lurked, right? So I lurked around Reddit, and eventually decided, well, I think I'm more I think our wet shaving is more my style. So,
Got it. It's sounds very familiar, and I actually joined around the same time as you in 2021.
ah, ah,
Interesting. So I guess, I was going to ask if we're in a golden age of wet shaving right now, but you sort of got into it at the same time as me in the golden age. I've heard lore that 2018, 2019 were the sort of peak years, but that was before my time, and I guess yours as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, it was. But I can see with the COVID years that there would be an awful lot more attention to something you can do at home.
Sure. For myself, it was, I lived with my partner and my son at the time, and it was the only escape I had was locking myself in the bathroom and sort of self-care time.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah. Well,
really
I'm sure
something I
that's
did.
true for a lot of people.
I would imagine. I'm curious about something you said, though. You said you've taught yourself to shave with a straight razor twice.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
does
So the
how does that work?
first time I was young.
Okay.
Now, yeah, yes, first time I was young, I was probably in my 20s,
Right.
and it was more of a, can somebody handed, I knew nothing about it. Somebody handed me a straight razor, and I used it for several days in a row and managed to get some sort of a shave.
Wow.
And this was one-handed, right?
Okay.
Then, then, uh, then about 20, somewhere in the 2010s, um, I was handed a razor to sharpen. I was doing sharpening. That was when I started sharpening, was sharpening on water stones,
Okay.
freehand sharpening, mostly knives.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody walked up and said, "Can you do a straight razor?" and I knew, the mechanics of sharpening a straight razor. I mean, really, the basics of a straight razor are easy. It's got its own sharpening guide built in.
Right.
So, you know, um, knowing that, I said, sure, I can get things sharp, and it's got a built-in guide. So yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And handed it back, and he said the edge is awful. I thought, oh my God. And I said, well, why? And, we went on back and forth. I mean, he didn't have to pay me for any of this. I told him
Sure.
I would do it. I would do it for free.
Right.
And, he should come back and tell me how it was. And he did, kind of brutally. And it was at that point that I said, okay, I really need to learn. If I'm going to do this for people, then I have to understand what they mean. Because he said, oh, it's harsh and it's this. And
Yeah.
the guy who taught me to sharpen professionally, he said, I don't touch razors because these guys are crazy. And so, he said, if you want to do it, fine, but I don't touch them.
Right.
And so I decided that in order to understand what, and I had asked after that, I had a couple of other requests to do razors, and I put them off until I actually understood, what, or tried to understand what it was that they were talking about. So
Right.
the second time was me making a real concerted effort to, again, one pass shave, still using canned foam. But I knew enough at that point in time that the basic handling of a straight razor was easier to do ambidextrously.
Sure.
So the main thing I got out of that was the basics of technique with both hands. How to shave myself a one pass shave, and how to do that comfortably with both hands.
Okay.
So that was in the 2010s. So that was the second time, and then the third time was as a wet shaver.
Right. Interesting. And between that, I guess you just used cartridge razors, like
Oh yeah,
majority
yeah.
of
I
this
mean,
stuff.
I went back because, again, in my mind, saving was a morning activity that needed to be
Sure.
done as quickly as
In 3 minutes.
possible.
Right. Well, the fact that you got it down to 3 minutes is quite impressive in any case.
Oh well, yeah. Thank you. I won't go any further with that.
So all that to say, that's a great story or tale of how it all started. Now, fast forward to now. I believe you're a collector or a
Yeah.
collector of sorts, like many of us. How big is your
Yes.
collection, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Well, I mean,
I
you're
have,
amongst friends, so
yeah, well, I think, yeah, I know, I might be a lightweight amongst this crowd.
right, right.
I have about somewhere around 50 straight razors,
Wow.
and another 40, something about 40, somewhere between 40 and 45 safety razors.
Okay. Interesting.
And then soap, I have somewhere around 150 soaps. I've got about 40 some brushes. I mean, it's conspicuous consumption. If you look it up, conspicuous consumption, you see
Yes.
me.
Okay. Fair. Well, but again, that might pale in comparison to some of our listeners.
It
I know
it it
myself,
might.
I'm not too far behind you, especially having just most recently gotten into straights. You said you had 50 straights.
Yeah.
I'm at 30. I'm embarrassed
Yeah.
to say.
Well, good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm
But
actually, just to interrupt your
not at all.
conversation with me. You and I talked at the last Magrid meetup, and
Yes.
I'm sort of thrilled to see your enthusiasm for diving down
Thank
the
you.
rabbit hole.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it's yes, I have too many razors, but as far what I really get off on these days is the honing part, as you know. That's a whole other can of worms. I mean, I'm hoping we'll discuss it shortly, but I try to make do with the limited stones that I have, is the punchline for myself at least, because it's endless.
it is. It
Yes.
is. And the fact is, you can get by. I mean, I could easily get by with just two.
Sure.
because I kind of know how to manipulate the stones. I could get by with two stones
Right. Yet
and be
how many stones do you have, if I may?
oh I haven't I haven't counted. I have let me just put it this way. I have behind me a rack that has four shelves.
Oh boy.
It's one of those big metal racks that has four shelves,
Yeah,
and each shelf is stacked with sharpening stones.
fantastic.
So I've lost count
Okay.
of how many. I mean, I have like full sets of stones, like DMT stones. I have full sets of diamond stones that I barely use anymore.
Wow. Time for
Yeah,
maybe a
so
garage sale. And please keep me in mind.
yeah, well, that's another problem I have is I don't sell anything.
Right. I'm sort of the same, but that's a wide variety and a wide choice. I guess it becomes very
Yeah, but
nuanced too, right?
yeah, a lot of it is a lot of these were acquired out of, again, curiosity. I wonder what it's like to use this stone.
Sure.
I have sold stones, but a lot of it is again, like you said, just enjoying the nuance.
Right.
If I had to, I could easily limit myself. For knives, I'd probably limit myself to three stones.
Okay.
For razors, I could easily get by with two.
Amazing. Neat. But still, nice to have such a variety and such a choice of different
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the joy with razors once you get proficient with your technique
yeah,
and can shave yourself easily without too much concern for irritation and nicks and cuts, then you can start to appreciate the different texture of the edge itself.
sure.
So the different feel of the edge. Um, for me at least, I think it's easiest to separate keenness from the feel of the edge. It's from the feel of the edge. And because you can get a synthetic edge that isn't very keen,
Right.
or a synthetic edge that's actually too keen.
Sure.
So and they're gonna still feel like a synthetic edge.
Yep.
And so the same can be said for other types of stones, but that's a unique thing with razors that I think is worth doing. As I said, I could live with a 4K and an 8K. I could get by with that, or
Yeah.
maybe a 3K and an 8K. I did a video where I did a full bevel set to final finish on one stone,
Oh, really?
and that was an 8K. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
and that's just knowing I might know a little bit more than the average person about how to manipulate abrasives, but that's all I did. I
Sure.
mean, it's not it's when I say no more, I mean have more experience. I have more
Right.
time into
Well,
it,
that's
but
it.
that's all I did, and it was a entirely great shaving edge. And I wouldn't not use that razor.
Sure.
But it's enjoyable to be able to take a different type of stone,
Yeah.
a Japanese natural or a katakul or one of the many slate stones,
hmm
and just see what that feels like.
Right. Absolutely. So your technique must be perfected, more or less.
I think comfortable.
Okay.
I don't know about perfect. I don't know whether any of us. I mean, I
Well, perfect
constantly
is
tinker. I constantly tinker with my technique,
right.
but I think if you're comfortable with your shaving technique, then really delving into the different edge feels is a lot of fun.
Sure. I would agree. I don't know that I'm fully comfortable. I still cut myself from time to time. And it's just mostly when I'm not paying attention, it seems to be.
Yeah, but
But
that's comfortable. I mean, you're when you're shaving, you're not concerned about what to do in every area and on every
oh,
pass, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really what I mean.
Yeah. In all of your photos and in all of your videos, all of your razors always look very pristine, in amazing condition. Is that part of the ethos of your collecting? Do they have to be in perfect condition?
Actually, they're not in perfect
Well,
condition. I have a
perfect is
bunch
a
of razors that have patina, and
okay.
generally, if I buy a razor that has nice looking patina,
Yeah,
so to answer your question, yes, I want everything to look nice.
sure.
because of course it shaves better if it looks nice.
That's for
And
sure.
and and so so I do. I like the razor to look nice as because it's also part of a collection. But
Right.
the character that comes from patina also is nice.
Sure.
You know, I often don't care for an old razor that's over restored. You
Right.
know, if it's an old razor that was restored, but enough of its use comes through, then you sort of feel like, okay, there's a story there.
Right.
It's not my story, but this piece has a history, and that
Absolutely.
history is there in the piece.
That's one of my favorite parts of it. Not knowing, but saying, gosh, this piece of steel is, 100 years old or 100 plus years old. Where has it been? Who has it
Yeah,
shaved before me?
yeah, yeah,
And, amazing to bring it back in many cases. I like buying sort of junkier, cheaper razors on eBay, as I'm still learning, of course, and trying to bring them back to something that is shave ready and looks half decent. And that's sometimes a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
yeah. I agree. Good for you.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a great part of the hobby.
Right.
It's really just taking control of the tool, that being able to take control and responsibility for every part of this tool that you use.
Right. Yes, indeed.
You're able to maintain it completely.
And when you buy a razor, do you look out for something specific or are you shopping for sort of, a list of grail razors or that sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of I mean, I was somewhat influenced by the podcast that I can't remember which group it was, but Jungilla had a podcast where they interviewed Brad Maggard,
Right.
and he said, okay, if you're going to build a list of
Sure.
razors, this is what you want. And I thought, okay, well, that's a good place to start,
Yeah.
and so I started there,
Okay. Interesting.
and then from sort of looking around, scanning the internet, just getting an idea of different, what was out there and what was interesting. Then I
Yeah.
started to branch out from that.
Okay. Do you do a lot
Uh,
of research into straight razors, sort of different models, history and such?
a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I tend to not remember all the history, but when it's interesting to me at the time, then I remember the razor.
Sure. Got
So
it.
the Swedish razors, for instance, the Helgestrans.
Yeah.
I kind of caught on to the Helgestrans, and the one that I really wanted was the one that was seemed to be the favorite was the MK31
Okay.
with the thumb notch. And I thought, oh, okay, it's 5/8. That's maybe not my favorite size, but I should be able to adapt.
Sure.
And so I came across one, and I thought, okay, this is neat. I really like this steel.
Yeah.
And that so what other Helgestrons can I get into?
Sure.
And actually the only other Helgestron that I wanted was an MK32, which is the 6/8 equivalent. I have yet to buy that one, but I came across an MK10, which is a half hollow,
Yeah.
which is the every time I use it, it's the most surprisingly great razor.
Interesting.
And so, that was kind of it's a Helgestron. It's in good shape. It has a little French point. I'll buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the collection is like that too, where I come across something, eBay or Griffiths or some other place,
Yeah.
and it looks interesting, and I figure, well, there's always the bazaar, and I can get rid of it if I hate it,
Sure.
and so I've done that too.
Okay. Yet you said earlier that you don't sell much. You keep
I
much.
don't.
Right.
I don't. I have sold some razors, but locally, so
Okay.
not on the bazaar.
Right.
The one area that I have been really interested in from the very beginning was getting a razor with uh, Tamahagane steel, Japanese steel. That's the process for steel that they made the samurai swords.
Ah,
And the that steel in the knife world is also kind of a big deal.
okay.
Japanese steel in the knife world is a big deal in
In
general.
general, yeah.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to sharpen a knife in Tamahagane,
Oh, wow.
and that was like a privilege for
Really?
me. And yeah, just mainly because of the, I mean, steel is iron and carbon, so at the end of the day, it's the same stuff,
Right.
but the handling of it, the forging and heat treatment and so on of it is what makes it special. And Tamahagane is made from iron found in sand.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
actually, most of the Japanese steels come from, they have a lot of their iron in sand.
Right.
And so anyway, that was
Interesting.
yeah, probably more information that you could care to hear.
No,
But
I love this stuff. And that's the thing. You're such a source of information. I especially love your videos when you just get into it and explain so many things. I've learned a lot from watching your
oh,
videos.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so anyway, I really did want a razor with Tamahagane steel, and the guy to get that from would be Iwasaki.
Okay.
And he died in the mid 60s, but I really wanted one of his Western style razors.
Yes.
And I got one of those,
Amazing.
and that was my grail
Okay.
razor.
Fair.
And then I made contact with Tim Zowada, who makes his own uh, 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 steel from iron sand that he finds in Michigan.
Interesting.
He calls it Timahagane. And so we've had some very good email conversations. And he contacted me and he said, I have an Iwasaki. Would you like to buy it?
Oh, wow.
And I said, okay, how much? And that was done. So I now have two of my Grail razors.
Fantastic.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And of all of those razors, do you have one that's your favorite?
Yeah, well, actually, the Iwasaki razor made that Tim sold me.
Yeah.
He made mammoth ivory scales for it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that razor is amazing. Just everything about it. I'm still using his edge on the
Really?
razor. Yeah,
Oh,
and 'cause he's a great sharpener.
sure. How long
And
ago, or how many shaves do you have on that edge?
oh, probably 30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, again, daily shaver. I
Sure.
get a lot of shaves in.
Yeah.
And I should probably rehone that. Um, uh, because I mean, who knows what it would be like with my own
How
edge,
much
right?
better it could be, perhaps.
Well, different, right? So
Yeah.
it's certainly going
You're
to be
right.
different.
Different.
And because he's very good.
Sure.
But
It wasn't
at the end
to
of the
diminish
day,
his skill at all, but
no, no, I mean, at the end of the day, my own edges have my own personality
absolutely.
attached to them. So
Right.
so it would be a grid, and that one is just, it's a special shaver.
Okay.
So it's probably my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah.
But I also, getting back to the personality thing, I do find a personality. When you have a lot of razors and you pick them up and you try one day and another day, the differences between them start to come out. And I kind of
Absolutely.
view that in the way, not as good or bad, but more like personality.
Sure. That
This
makes a lot of
one
sense.
this one is tricky because it has a point that tends to want to stick me, and this one
Right.
is just super comfortable and feels so light in the hand, and needs a little more effort from me to maintain its inertia on my face and
Sure.
so on.
Yeah. That's very much part of the fun of it all. That's true. And for all those non-straight razor users, you have a favorite DE razor amongst your collection?
Um, let's see. Well, uh, of the Gillettes, well, of DE razors. So probably the I have a Gillette President that I like a lot. It was a razor that I remember my father having.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure what he had was a President.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I figure he's gone, so I can't ask him anymore.
Hmm.
So I figure my memory is can serve as the record,
Sure. Fair
and
enough.
so that one has a strong nostalgic association. And then I have a Wolfman, a brand, a Wolfman that I paid
Yeah.
for that new obviously
Sure.
that I think is a terrific razor.
Yeah, I would agree. I also have a Wolfman, and it's shout out for a Canadian product. There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Good
art. It's
point.
really a piece of art too. It's a
It
beautiful,
is.
beautiful razor. Yeah. How many people do you hone razors for?
Um, I haven't counted. I mean, I don't have. I guess I do. I have a couple of regulars. I do have several regulars people, but
Right.
and that's like less than 10.
Okay.
And over time, total over time, maybe 100 different people over like
Okay.
15 years. But in the last in the last few years, not that many, maybe 30 people I've honed for.
Sure. Well, you seem to be very popular in our little group,
Oh,
and
I appreciate that.
I don't think I've yet to try one of your edges, I think, and I would
Well,
send you
I
a
told
razor.
you.
I know, but this Friday, I'll date this conversation. This Friday, Canada Post is supposed to go back on strike. So if that's the case, it's a real pain in the ass for all of us wet shave maniacs who love ordering things constantly and sending things in the post. So it'll have to
I
wait. But I will take you up on that offer for sure.
Yeah, please do. And that offer goes to all the Redditors. I never stopped. I made the offer to do a Redditors, an
Yeah.
our wet shaving Redditors razor for just the cost of shipping.
Okay.
And I did that for the austere August challenges last year, but I never really stopped.
Right.
I like the idea of, I mean, I don't, one does not become insanely wealthy sharpening knives and razors.
No, absolutely
So,
not.
I mean, the professional that taught me was doing 30,000 knives a year.
My goodness.
Eh,
It's a lot of
Yeah,
knives. Yeah.
yeah, and well, he did everything else too, but very high volume, and he made a good business out of that. But you know, he was exceptional
Sure.
as a businessman for doing it. So
It's a
for
lot of
me,
lot of sharpening.
I just enjoy doing it, and
Absolutely.
I'm more importantly, I want to jumpstart anybody who wants to get into straight razors
Yeah.
and has the idea that they'll start by learning to shave with a straight razor and
Sure.
then carry on with either learning to hone themselves or finding somebody to hone for them.
Do it for them, right?
And so if I can help somebody down that road, I'm happy to do it.
That's fantastic. And what was the inspiration for starting a YouTube channel? That's not
So,
nothing.
no, yeah, yeah. Uh, somebody that I bought actually was in conversation with. He's the one that eventually sold me the first Iwasaki razor,
Okay.
and he said, how do you want it honed? And I said, I don't. And he was
Was
not
he
only astonished but a little disgusted that
right? Insulted.
an American could possibly want to hone an Iwasaki razor. And so we went back and forth. I mean, he was quite nice about it, but we went back and forth, and I convinced him that this is what I'm going to do,
Okay.
and he said, "Well, would you make a video of it?"
Oh,
And I said, Yeah, sure." And so I made a video of honing that razor, and I put it up on YouTube, but it was unlisted, and so I
right.
simply sent him the link to it,
Sure.
and he watched that, and he said well, he had a couple comments. One was that I wasn't doing it the way Iwasaki did it. Um and, and it's okay. I mean, he was right. I kind of work more from first principles than from copying
Right.
um copying somebody else's method.
Sure.
That's just my way of doing it. And I understand, though, from first principles, what I'm trying to accomplish.
Right.
So, he and I had that conversation. But other than that, I mean, his advice was, why not make this public? And I said, well, who would care? And
Well,
and he goes, well, I think you might find other people would care. So I thought, well, I can always take it down. So I made it public, and that's kind of how it started. I got response from to that, and then I
sure.
made another video,
Right.
um, and I got response from that, and it sort of carried on from there. This is not something that I planned.
Interesting. And yet here we are 125 videos in with 475 subscribers to your channel.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
looking at it
wow.
on my other screen now.
Oh, well, thank you.
Uh,
Being the incredibly oblivious person that I am, I have no idea. I have no idea
interesting.
what my statistics are. I
Well,
never
there you
ask
go.
anybody to, I don't, yeah, thank you. I never ask any, I mean, I can't believe that 475 people would subscribe to me.
To me, it's a testament to, the pleasure gleaned from listening, watching. I don't know. I find them incredibly informative. And also, like we said earlier, all of the shots are very composed, nicely composed. Your camera work is excellent.
Thank
So,
you.
you know,
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Because I take some pride in the thumbnails,
right.
doing the shots on the thumbnails. I,
Sure.
I, I enjoy I enjoy that, and I want them to have a consistent. I've decided. I didn't at first, but it occurred to me. I glommed onto the idea that if you have a consistent look and feel, then it looks more like a channel.
Right.
So
That's,
I'm very slowly figuring it out.
it works. It works well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then you shave as well. You do sort of shave of the days from time to time
Yeah,
too. That's a whole other
yeah.
tangent.
Something else I never thought I would do.
Interesting. Was there
Yeah.
an impetus or an influence for that, or just
Yeah.
okay?
uh, Once again, I what I was doing was at the end of a honing video, I would put up the microscope image of the edge,
Yes.
and then do a dialogue over that, saying, okay, here's what the edge looked like, and here's what the test shave was like.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, why don't you do a video of the test shave instead of telling us about it? Then we can see it.
Right.
And I thought, oh, well, who the hell wants to watch me shave? And then it occurred to me, and talk about motivation. It occurred to me that I don't think either my son or my daughter ever had the chance to watch me shave when they were
Interesting.
little.
Right.
And yet I remember watching my father shave, and my wife remembers watching her father shave. And
Sure.
I thought, oh, I wonder if this is like one of those foundational moments that our kids missed. And so
Interesting.
and so I thought, okay, well, I'll do a shaving video, and if they're interested, they can watch it.
Right.
So that was a little bit of also motivation.
Sure. And have they watched it? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My son is a subscriber.
Fantastic. There you go. One
And
of
I
the
asked him,
400.
do you ever watch these things? Because he told me he was a subscriber, and I said, well, do you ever watch?
Yeah,
He said, yeah, yeah, I
that's
do.
great. That's a wonderful reason to start, shaving on YouTube.
Yeah,
Have you
thank you.
ever considered doing voice acting for bedtime stories?
Oh, that took me off guard. Sorry. So you're
Thank you.
saying that
Thank you.
when I talk, it's very easy for people to fall asleep. I
I've
think that's
heard you
what you're saying.
refer to something akin to that in your own videos. That's hence the
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
I would never dare
yeah.
to be
Well,
so insulting, but you know,
well, normally I don't attach that to the timbre of my voice, but rather it's the quality of the information that I sometimes think is pretty boring.
right.
But no, I have not.
No.
That was pretty funny.
Thank you. Thank you. That was just a joke, of course.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I got it.
do you have a favorite soap in all of this?
Oh. Um, wow, that's a tough one. I can't say that. I would say the only soap I've ever finished a tub of
Yeah.
is oh shoot, I'm having a senior moment.
Oh,
Uh, 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 it's a barrister and man soap. He releases it in the fall. Uh,
there are so many. Not
Yeah,
sure,
I know,
but
I know.
we can come back to
It'll,
it.
it'll, yeah, it'll come back to me.
For sure.
But in general, I don't have a favorite soap. In general, I'm seasonal with
Sure.
soaps,
Okay.
and in the winter, I like the darker, richer, heavier soaps, and this time of year I'm gravitating more towards the lighter citrusy
Sure.
more fougere like more uh fruity soaps.
Right.
And so I'm seasonal that way, and I do have I enjoy part of what I enjoy with the online stuff is you know days when it's decided for me. Like
Okay.
today was a Tuesday. I would normally do Tabak Tuesday
Yes.
or a tea. I have a tea for Tuesday that I do. And today I did a blue Tuesday.
Okay.
I misspell blue. I do BLUE instead or BLEU.
EU.
And then
Bleu.
I also blue
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yes, yes.
Fair.
Because yeah, so because I'm using uh I call it Blue Man, but it's actually Deep Blue Sea from
Yes.
Sterling,
Sterling. Sure.
which is a Bleu de Chanel
Right. A
dupe.
dupe. Yes.
And so that's how I get the blue in there. So yeah, it's a stretch, but it works for me.
Sure. That's, creatively, that also works for me. Makes sense. It's a recurring question on the show. Would you buy another man's used soap?
Oh, well, I have.
Okay.
So yes.
Many have. Good.
I
Easy.
mean you can clean it with soap.
Of course. Well, it is soap after all. That's right.
That's yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Yeah. And I believe you were in your career, you were an engineer, were you not?
I am an engineer.
You are, well, of course. Once an engineer, always an engineer, in fact.
Well, I mean that's your degree, right? So
Yeah.
so I have I am an engineer by education.
Fair.
And that was also what I did for a living.
Okay. Does being trained as an engineer allow you to be meticulous at all about your method when it comes to sharpening? Does it have anything to
I
do?
I I I think that it contributes perhaps. I think some people's nature is to be more meticulous than others. So I'm not sure that
Fair.
it comes directly from engineering. I tell you what does though.
Yeah.
My nature is to understand the principles of what I'm doing and use those principles to try to do whatever is I'm doing with intention. So,
Right.
if you're designing something, that's the overriding approach, right? You
Sure.
understand the principles of what you're trying to accomplish, or what principles that you have to apply to the way the thing will be used, how it'll be
Right.
made, so on.
Absolutely.
And then you make it with the intention of with intention
Doing
so that
well.
it can be
Yeah.
used for its purpose. And so I take that approach with sharpening.
Okay. That makes sense. What's the main difference between mechanical and civil engineers?
Oh, yeah, that's an old joke.
That is an old joke.
I'll let you complete the joke.
All right. Mechanical engineers build weapons and civil engineers build targets. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's that's an old joke. Yeah. There's several other sort of classic jokes, and really that one's not the most obvious, but you know, there are other jokes that kind of point out that engineers generally, people say, well, engineers have a keen sense of the obvious, but some of the other engineering jokes kind of show that we also have a keen sense of the oblivious.
Any examples offhand?
Well, the glass half full, glass half empty joke. The engineer says wrong
Sure.
glass.
There you go.
You know, it's the wrong glass.
Yeah,
And you know, the oblivious part is it's about kind of the human condition, not about the water.
sure.
But you know, the engineer will be oblivious because, you know, to him it's a problem to solve, or to him or
That's
her,
right. It's the function
or
of
they,
how
to
much
him, her,
water.
or they,
Yeah.
it's a problem to solve.
Yep. Why is cutting into a styrofoam packing peanut so darn satisfying?
Well, um, to me, the magic of the styrene is that it's incredibly consistent
Right.
from peanut to peanut, and it's the best. You can have good days and bad days in, you know, whatever it is you're doing, and especially with honing, you know, you just have
Sure.
good days and bad days.
Yep.
But the peanut is consistent. So if you're having, you know, if you think you've developed an edge past a certain point, um, and you take it, if you weren't using the peanut, you might say, oh, okay, well, that's good. I'm just going to move on. But
Sure.
the peanut uh, is is a, you know, a great way to bring you back. It's a great way to sort of tell you without any kind of bias whether you really are where you think you are. So it's a nice consistent test. And so I, you know, for me, what's, I guess what's satisfying about that is that it's I've learned to depend on it more and more.
Right.
And you know, the satisfying, another aspect of it is when you get to the point that the edge has no feeling, the edge passing through the polystyrene skin, when that has no feeling whatsoever,
Yeah.
there's a magic to that.
Sure.
And so if you've experienced that, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's my next question. Did you coin the term pushing into the cloud, as you always
Yeah,
say?
that's me. Yeah,
And
that
that's it evokes the perfect visual for me and explains, exactly that.
yeah, that was you should know that none of my videos are, I don't make notes. I don't work off of anything. I just wing it.
Sure. Well, you
And
do it well then.
that came out one day.
Okay. To me, it's become, sort of a moniker or you should
Yeah.
trademark it, copyright it.
Well, other
Kidding.
people have picked it up.
Right.
Other people have picked it up, but yeah. So maybe I'll put a trademark on
There you
it.
go. And so hand stropping, no way.
Not for me. I'm not a big proponent of doing a lot of stropping. I think, and this again comes from lots and lots of knife sharpening.
Sure.
The edge needs to come off the stone in the right shape.
Okay.
And what stropping is going to do for you is to align little tiny, teensy tiny fragments of metal that are going in all kinds of directions off of the apex. And
Right.
you probably can't see these. I mean, these are with your average microscope, you're not going to see them.
Right.
But if you strop a little bit, you'll find that the edge will improve a little bit.
A little bit. Sure.
But a lot of people come off the stone and the edge is not sharp.
Huh.
and then they strop the bejesus out of it, and until it passes whatever test they use.
Sure.
And I'm not a proponent of that method, because stropping is different from, what you're doing with stropping is um, uh, well, the term is plastic deformation, but what you're really trying to do is bend the metal.
Right.
There are actually three components to stropping:
Yes.
the bending, this plastic deformation. You have burnishing, which
Yeah.
is moving metal across itself, and then or moving a material across itself, and then there is a tiny bit of abrasion. But the biggest actor when you're stropping is just the bending of metal.
Right.
And so you shouldn't, my view is that you shouldn't have to bend metal to the point where it goes from being not sharp to sharp.
No, that almost defeats the purpose of calling it a sharpening stone or attempting to sharpen it on a stone, right?
Well, yeah, what it means to me is
Almost.
that the work on the sharpening stone wasn't complete.
Right. Right. Tell us about your microscope. You seem to have some fantastic microscope,
Yeah.
way more powerful than the average straight razor fan, or that does his own.
Yeah. Again, yes, yes. I have an attention to excess when it comes to some things.
Well, in that
Um,
sense, maybe not, because you can really get in there and see, the
yeah,
smallest
I have
integers.
used I have really used this thing. I've used it to, again, curiosity. I've used it to study all kinds of things,
Sure.
little effects. So it's a microscope. It's made by a company called Dino-Light, Lite,
Okay.
and Chinese, I think. And yeah, so it's now probably three times what it was when I bought it.
Sure. Yeah.
But um, it's designed. It's a magnification is between 700 and 900 times
Okay.
uh, normal size,
Yeah.
and it's designed specifically to look at shiny
Oh,
surfaces.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it has two kinds of lighting that make take away glare and allow you to see texture in shiny surfaces.
Right. Neat. Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, and it's been very instructive for me, because I just, I'll say, like we were talking about stropping.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, well, here's what the edge, I think, okay, what does stropping do? If I take the edge off an 8K
Yeah.
and then strop it 20 times, what's it look like? What's it look like at 40? What's it look like at
Interesting.
100?
Yeah.
And I've done all of that kind of ridiculous stuff.
Sure, but that's good to know and interesting stuff for me at least,
Yeah. Well,
to
no, yeah.
learn.
Well,
So,
it is, obviously it is for me, but it's definitely a geek's perspective.
fair enough. Fair enough. So you bought
Now,
that
now I,
microscope then in relation to honing razors specifically.
I
Oh,
actually, yeah, I did. I bought it for more for honing razors than anything else.
okay.
I did use it uh during an austere August. I think the one of the first austere Augusts that
Right. I
I
seem to
where I was,
remember that. That
yeah, it
was to
was
do with not sharpening or not stropping even.
no, it was to inspect the gem blade.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. So
I
I
believe
I
you got
think
it
I was
wrong.
using I was doing the MMOC, right? So I was an MO trying to become an MMOC whisperer,
I see.
which I knew I was going. So yeah, I've never. I mean, the MMOC was just like the best razor ever the first time I tried it. I had no issues with it,
Yeah,
and so I knew that would be an easy austere August goal to achieve.
sure.
And so then I thought, oh, I wonder how the blade degrades if you're using one blade for 31 days in a row.
Yeah.
Um, how does it degrade? And so that's, so that was that was the time that I have used it for not used the microscope not for straight razors.
Right. And was the degradation significant?
Yeah, yeah, but if I were to do it, I think a lot of I also looked at Janjila's gem blade,
Okay.
and both of them were very similar. He
Interesting.
literally sent me his
His
gem
used
blade
blade. Okay.
to look at. Yeah,
That's funny.
and
Well, it's
and
a perfect experiment.
uh yeah, and the two of them were surprisingly the wear was surprisingly similar.
Yeah.
And the most of the damage, I could tell that he and I did the same thing. I think we were taking the blade out and cleaning it every night and then
Okay.
putting it back in the razor the next day, because the majority of the damage on those blades, I said razor, but I meant blades. The majority of the damage on the blades was where the little tabs are, that at the very ends
Yeah.
of the blade, the tabs on the razor that hold the very ends of the blade. That was where the majority of the damage was.
Interesting.
In the center, in the center, um, uh, they were, you could see where, but it wasn't terrible.
Right. They're pretty thick blades though, and they seem
They
to
are.
last quite a bit. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, they are.
and just for some of the listeners who hopefully, I've broadened my reach and they're not shave maniacs. MMOC is the Multimatic Open Comb razor by Gem, which some
I think
consider a very
Micromatic.
aggressive razor. But I,
Yeah.
like you, I started using it and just really liked it from the beginning. I have no issue with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And also, as a piece of razor design, the twist to open mechanism is just the most elegant mechanism.
Yes.
There was really no need to change that in my view.
No, indeed,
And,
it
and
works
again,
brilliant.
I know Gingilla agrees with me. I think both of us
Course.
just really appreciate that design.
And you're an engineer, so it holds weight what
Yeah,
you're
well,
saying.
as is he. So
Oh, is he an engineer? I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there you go. How many engineers does it take to change a light bulb? No, just kidding. It's not a joke I know an answer to. It was just off the cuff.
Yeah, there
Out of,
probably is a joke there.
oh, I'm sure there is. I just don't know the punchline.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not one I remember.
right. Out of all the razors that you've honed, does one stand out as being particularly stubborn or a brand of razor that
Um,
is difficult? Not really.
I don't find any of them too difficult. I've done enough. I mean, the more experience you get, really, the more experience the more razors you do, the more experience you get in handling the different situations, the different ways in which razors can be out.
Yeah.
Not right, not perfect. And so at this point, I can't. There isn't much that surprises me. I mean, I've kind of dealt with most of the major issues. I'd say that one thing that does come to mind is I've had several new Dovo razors
Yeah.
that were out in really bad ways. I mean, like the spine would be curved,
Wow.
or there would be a smile or a frown in the spine.
Really
Yeah. I mean, really
odd.
spine work that needed correcting, or a warp in the at the edge. Or literally like a waviness in the edge going
Yeah.
go back and forth across the spine. I mean, I've had three or four Dovos that
Interesting.
have had that problem straight out of the factory.
Wow.
And so that comes to mind, and I don't know where that comes from. I think somewhere I heard they changed management, so maybe somebody had the
That's
idea
it.
that, okay, we're gonna pull this back together.
Right. Hopefully, because traditionally they make nice racers, I
They
believe.
do,
Yeah.
they do, yeah,
You've referred to cleaning strokes in some of your videos when honing.
yeah,
You want to explain that? Is that I can't say that I've seen other people do that specifically, let's say.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So if you generally what that refers to are little bits of metal
Yeah.
that don't get torn away by rubbing them on the stone. So you're honing a razor, you're shaping by removing material,
Yes.
and that's abrasion. And abrasion isn't perfect.
Okay.
So some material gets dislodged but not completely removed at the apex,
Yes.
and we call that a burr. And a cleaning stroke, if it, the way in which we if you sharpen edge leading, which I do primarily so I can watch the slurry,
Okay.
but the edge leading stroke that you see most people do, edge leading means that the edge leads the spine in the direction of motion.
Yes.
So when the edge leads, the stone's abrasive material tends to push metal up onto the bevel.
Right.
And so a cleaning stroke is a stroke that is more side to side, more like what most people would call a rolling X stroke.
Yes.
I do a rolling X stroke less about, for me, that's less about trying to sharpen the edge and more about trying to clear off the burr. And
Interesting.
so it's cleaning burr from the edge.
Right. And is that something that stropping just wouldn't do or wouldn't do
No,
efficiently?
strapping
Would as
will do
well.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, the strapping will literally fatigue burr away.
Okay. Interesting. And now I've seen some of your
And you know what
shaves.
I mean when I say fatigue, right?
Yes. Well, maybe
Yeah.
explain it just for those that don't.
Well, just if you take like a metal clothes hanger
Yeah.
and you wring it back and forth, it'll break.
Yes, of
You know,
course.
you
Create
bend
a
it,
weak
you bend
point.
it, yeah, you bend it significantly back and forth. Sooner or later, it'll break at the weak point. That's metal fatigue.
Okay. Got it. I've seen by some of your shaves you coordinate to races, Formula One races.
Yes,
So I guess you're a Formula One fan.
big time. Yes.
Big time. Okay. You ever been to the
Well,
race
I
in
have
Montreal?
been. I
Go
have
on.
for a long time, I
Yeah.
should say. I mean, I saw it. I saw you have the wide world of wet shaving.
Yes.
I saw Formula One for the very first time in the 1960s on a show here in the United States called ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Well, it's funny you say that because my logo is modeled after or in tribute to, I'm glad that you're nodding. The
Yeah,
listeners can't
yes.
see that, but that was exactly it. When I was a child, I believe it was on Saturdays, I would fanatically watch ABC's Wild World of Sports.
Oh, cool.
So I know it well. And in fact, even more, to go a bit deeper, the opening and closing themes to this podcast are me giving that theme song to my 18-year-old son who's into audio design and saying, riff on that and make me something. So there you go. There's a little
Yeah.
Easter egg for the listeners, I guess.
Yeah, I
Um,
I I picked up on that.
right. Ever been to the Grand Prix de Montréal in Montreal?
No, but that so there are now four, let's see, there's Montreal, there's Miami,
Yeah.
there's Austin, and then there's Las Vegas, and there's Mexico City in the North American continent.
Yes.
And of those races, the one that I would like to go to the most is in Montreal.
Interesting. Well, you're welcome anytime.
Oh,
Uh,
I've tried. Last year we were going to go, and I went to buy tickets, and it was sold out.
it sells out pretty
And
quickly.
yeah, and so this year I thought again. I was thinking about going again.
Yeah.
And then this was around the time when it became dicey for me to go to Canada and return.
Right.
So I mean, it might not be dicey at all, but at the time,
yeah, it seems not to be when I speak to people that cross the border regularly, but everyone is. a little bit wary, understandably.
Yeah, and so I thought, oh shoot, maybe not this year. I mean, traveling out of the country this year is traveling by plane especially
Right.
is dicey as far in terms of risk.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
here, I mean, U.S. airports.
Right.
So yeah, I still, but that would still be the one I would go to.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a fun race and it's a great city if you've never been.
Oh, yeah, I have been.
Oh, you have been to
Yeah,
Montreal. Great.
yeah. I have. I've been there in Quebec City.
Yeah.
I've been east into Nova Scotia. My
Sure.
family is from PEI,
Oh, no
so
kidding. Okay.
yeah.
There you go.
My father's father was from PEI.
Nice. Well, your family name is of French origin, I believe, right?
It
Right
is.
on.
But the my forebear traveled to Prince Edward's Island, which for the audience, that's what PEI is.
Yes.
Prince Edward Island, so he, we can trace ourselves back to him.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah,
There you go. Everyone's Canadian in the end. No.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And in fact, my father spoke French Canadian,
Oh, no kidding.
which is why I speak French so poorly.
Right. Makes sense. Well, the French they speak here, French Canadians speak, they call it joual, which is, almost a patois,
Hmm.
interestingly. But there are so many, many French from France immigrants here, so that maybe is changing the balance, at least in Montreal, seems to be. Yeah. After all of the videos that you've made, have you ever considered another career as being a hand model?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I'm. It's funny that nobody's lining up with those offers. I assume what you're talking about is my using my hands to demonstrate different shapes that an edge will take on at different times.
There's that. There's, sometimes cutting into the styrofoam peanut so elegantly. There's the actual honing strokes too, including the cleaning
Oh,
strokes. All of it
oh,
together.
thanks.
It's might lead to a secondary career.
Yeah, yeah.
Something to
Well,
consider.
yeah. Well, get in touch
Fair enough. You heard it here
get
first,
in touch
folks.
with those hand model offers.
That's right. Again, I work in advertising, so if ever I need for a photo shoot, something
Yeah,
I might be reaching out.
yeah. Yeah, if you ever want somebody with age spots and the blue veins of old age and crinkly skin, I'm your man.
Listen, disposable income is a thing, and the young people these days just don't have it. So the target markets are always shifting. It's could be open to consideration. You never know.
Yeah, that was an out of the blue question.
Thank you. I like to,
That was a good one. That was a good
thanks.
one.
I like to try to keep it light.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you do a good job at this.
I
Uh,
appreciate it. I'm really, having a fun time doing it and getting to talk to very interesting people like yourself really make it worthwhile. So,
Yeah, well, you contribute a lot to that. You hold up the conversation well. You direct it well. I've listened just for all those who are listening. I've listened to almost every one of these
oh,
podcasts. I think
thank you.
there's one that I'm halfway through. I won't say which one because I don't want to insult anybody.
Right.
But I had dinner uh 2 nights ago with HD Shaves,
Nice.
Visceral Watch for
Yes.
those who don't know that huge YouTube influencer. He's a good friend,
Yeah.
and I listened to your podcast with him. So
Yeah, it was a thrill and fun. It was one of the first ones I figured I'd attract, a listening base with big star power.
yeah,
Him. But
yeah,
he's become a good friend too, to me. So it's always a pleasure talking with him and catching up. And who
yeah.
doesn't love jazz music?
Well, exactly.
Don't,
Actually, I wear. He gave me
I was
a
about to say, yeah,
Righteous Rooster T-shirt,
that was,
and I wear it and often show it as part of a shave video.
And I appreciate that because I help them out with their visual identity, if you will. So
I
that means a
know.
lot to me. It's all coming
Yes,
full circle, right?
it is, because I'm well aware of that.
Right. Well, wisely said then.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our chat, Greg. I want to say just thank you. It's been truly a pleasure. And even, in perpetuity in the future, watching your videos, I always learn something. So I really appreciate what you do and the
Oh,
fact that you
thank you.
do it. And to all the listeners, as always, thanks for listening and tune in next time for more podcast.